This week's custom mode showcase is going to follow the story of our favorite little rebel, Bardock. Now, obviously, as we know, Bardock dies when he tries to defend the planet Vegeta from Frieza. But in this particular story, we're going to look at a scenario where Frieza decides that death is not enough of a punishment for Bardock, and instead he captures him and destroys Planet Vegeta otherwise, forcing Bardock to be a part of his Frieza force. Now you might be thinking, well, how exactly is he going to force Bardock to cooperate when he stood up to him before? Well, the answer's simple. In this scenario, Frieza's aware that Goku was sent away. He sees the space pod, and he knows it's Bardock's son. Or at least he assumed so, and taunted Bardock with it. And his reaction let him know that that was the case. So he told him simply, "If you don't join me, I will kill your son." And that was all Bardock needed to be coerced. Now, of course, for his rebellion, it's not a comfy position. He's ranked about the level of a Frieza soldier, and Frieza takes out all of his anger on him. And we'll see how that goes for him as we get into this. Our story starts off, as I previously stated, with the destruction of Planet Vegeta and the ultimate capturing of Bardock by Frieza after taunting him with the knowledge that he knows his son's out there and he will kill him if Bardock doesn't join them. Bardock, of course, wanting to protect his son, does so reluctantly. Now, Frieza fully intends to punish Bardock the entire time. He will never kill him, but he will always be suffering. He's about the level of a Frieza soldier right now in terms of the hierarchy, and he will be constantly pummeled and beat by everybody. Frieza does decide to put him to a test to see just how reliable he might be by having Qui, Dodoria, and Zarbon all fight him. Bardock proves to be a bit of a match for Qui and gives Dodoria a rough time, but ultimately Zarbon is the one who kind of puts him in his place. Now, it's important to note here that the Frieza Force is not aware of how the Zenkai boost works for Saiyans, and eventually Bardock starts to realize that his power is growing significantly. He's starting to understand that the more he gets beat up and then healed up by Frieza and his goons, the stronger he's becoming. And he's quickly learning that if he just keeps letting this happen, that someday he might be able to rival Frieza. So, though it's not fun, he does let this continue to happen. And unbeknownst to Frieza, Zarbon, and Doria, and everybody else in the Frieza Force, he is slowly gaining on everybody. We fast forward in time quite a bit now to the events on Planet Namek. For the most part, staying the same as far as the Z-Warriors are concerned. The biggest difference is that Bardock is there along with the rest of the Frieza Force. Most things kind of play out the same. Frieza keeps Bardock around, and every time he gets a little frustrated with the happenings on the planet, he gives him a good blast to not quite kill him, but to really, really hurt him. And then, of course, he is constantly healed to make sure that he feels the full brunt of it every single time. Another major difference is that Frieza doesn't have the same encounter with Nail as he does in the normal timeline. Instead of going and doing it himself, he sends Bardock to go and deal with Nail. Nail winds up in basically about the same position, not quite dead, but beat within an inch of his life. Now, it's important to note here, this is about when Bardock's starting to realize that, oh, I'm starting to get pretty close to Frieza in terms of power. I think I can take him on. And he's kind of showboasting about his power a little bit. And unfortunately for him, Frieza was around to hear that and made sure to put him in his place. It took him back to the ship to heal up. This eventually leads us to the point where the Z-Warriors have to fight the Ginyu Force. And eventually, Captain Ginyu realizes that they're starting to go down, and he and Bardock go to investigate. They arrive just as Goku takes out Jason Birder, and Bardock realizes that this is his son, Kakarot. Now, He's filled with emotion, but he has to be careful how he plays his cards here. He's about on the level of Captain Ginyu right now, but he's not entirely sure how to go about this. Goku and Vegeta do recognize him as a Saiyan, but obviously Goku does not know who he is, and Vegeta does not care about anybody he considers low class anyway, so he wouldn't recognize him. They do note that his hair is very similar to Kakarot's, though. Now we have what seems to be a 2v2 at first. However, Vegeta decides to take off, realizing that the odds might be stacked against them a little bit, and he doesn't quite want to deal with it. So Vegeta takes off, and now it's Goku versus Captain Ginyu and Bardock. Bardock's still trying to come to terms with the fact that he's seeing his son alive and well and strong, is not too keen on getting into the fight immediately, so it's Goku versus Captain Ginyu. And after a back and forth, Captain Ginyu does ultimately land his body change on Goku. Bardock is incredibly upset to see his son's body taken over like this, but after seeing the display of power that Goku put on, he's unsure if he could take Captain Ginyu in this new body, so he continues to play along for now. Vegeta steps back into the fold, realizing that even though Captain Ginyu's in Kakarot's body, he's not going to be able to use it the same way he did, and believes himself to have the upper hand here. Bardock's still not interested in getting involved with the fight for fear of harming his son's body, lets Vegeta and Captain Ginyu and Goku's body go at it. Vegeta does find himself with the upper hand and putting Captain Ginyu on the back foot. He's in trouble and is ready to do his change now technique again. However, just like in the anime, Goku manages to get in the way, and now everybody's back in their regular bodies. Vegeta takes out Ginyu, and Bardock, enraged at the state of his son's body and now his son, decides he's had enough of Vegeta. Through all of his merciless beatings and all of his Zenkai boost, he is more than a match for Vegeta, and has been pretty much the whole time, just scared to get involved while his son was in danger. He makes quick work of Vegeta, killing him off once and for all. After letting the dust settle, Bardock informs Kakarot of not only who he is, his father, but also the true nature of how the Saiyans were eliminated, and informs him of the terror that is Frieza. At this point, a lot of events are going to turn out about the same with Bardock in Vegeta's place, with Goku healing up in the chamber, Piccolo showing up and absorbing Nail. Bardock is essentially taking on the Vegeta role in this. And through all these battles, he thinks he might be able to stand up to Frieza now. When the fight with Frieza begins, Bardock lays all of his cards on the table. He informs Frieza of the Zenkai boost and how he's been hiding his true power from him this whole time. And Frieza just laughs. After a couple of exchanged blows just to be sure, Frieza decides to show his second form, and quickly casts Bardock aside.
My second form makes me wide.
We had a couple of the same story beats here with Frieza impaling Krillin, Gohan getting majorly upset and landing a big blow on him before Piccolo shows up, ready to fight. Eventually Frieza goes into his third form and quickly takes out Piccolo, and now Bardock, freshly healed from Dende, is back up to the plate, ready to take on this monster. Of course, Frieza wastes no time showboating and showing him his final form, and quickly casting Bardock aside like he was nothing. Just when all seems dim, Goku shows up, ready to fight. The fight between Goku and Frieza goes pretty much exactly the same from this point. The only difference that I put into this particular scenario was having Gohan be the one to be majorly injured by Frieza after the Spirit Bomb. Of course, Krillin died. Gohan's only to get majorly injured here. Enraged by the grave injury to his son, Goku burst into Super Saiyan, with Frieza and Bardock being completely shocked. Both knew of the legend, but neither one of them believed it was true. Frieza quickly responds in kind, going to 100% power, realizing he's going to need every bit he's got to eliminate this monkey. Goku tells Bardock to take the injured and get off the planet as fast as he can. And just like in the original story, everybody gets wished off of planet Namek except for Goku and Frieza. And all of those that were killed by Frieza were revived. Now, of course, Vegeta was not killed by Frieza, he was killed by Bardock. So Vegeta no longer lives. This leaves Super Saiyan Goku versus 100% Power Frieza, and the rest of this battle goes exactly as expected. Goku kills Frieza and finds a way off the planet at the very last second before it explodes. Now this leaves our story in a interesting spot. We got Bardock alive and well on planet Earth. We got Goku on his way back, and we know how the Android saga starts out with Mecha Frieza. Now, I think I'd like to come back to this at some point and expand on this story. The main reason I don't is I'm kind of crossing my fingers that maybe they put some form of Super Saiyan Bardock in, just kind of as a fun character. You know, it could be some nice DLC. If they ever do that, I'll come back to this story, but I'd like Bardock to be relevant afterwards. Obviously, Frieza is, as far as he knows, defeated. His son is alive, and so is he. So you'd think he'd want to be involved at least somewhat. But of course, we're going to have to wait. Maybe I might think of something later on, but I'm kind of crossing my fingers that a Super Saiyan Bardock might wind up in its way in the game, but we'll see. Until then, this is a story of how Bardock got captured by Frieza and ultimately was reunited with his son. Well, thank you guys for watching. See you next time.